We are back with our next episode, which is not actually going to be a case this time. We are doing a meet your host, meet and greet Q&A type episode, and we are super excited to do it. So quarantine has had us all in our feels, and we have multiple cases going right now, guys. So we're definitely not doing this because we don't have enough to cover right now. We're actually at a point where we have so much to cover that we're doing some digging. We've got some really, really interesting cases that definitely are going to require us doing some due diligence into digging into them. So that's kind of why we thought this would be the perfect time to come on, introduce ourselves, tell you a little bit about us, and answer some questions that you all asked and sent in to us. So we've got Jasmine here. Jasmine, say hello.
Hello, hello.
So how's quarantine been going for you?
Quarantine is crazy. I'm lucky enough to be one of those essential workers or sacrificial workers, as they call them. However,
Right.
I don't consider it quite as sacrificial since I'm working from home. But working from home is definitely different than the office. So it's been an interesting quarantine. And unfortunately, you still cannot day drink. I shouldn't say still not. You cannot day drink while working from home.
Unless you're, in a Zoom meeting, it is frowned upon, but yeah. I mean, what they don't know will not hurt them.
I definitely asked during a meeting, which our meetings are held by phone now when we have our little nice weekly, team meeting. And I definitely asked my boss if that was acceptable and got a, yeah, not so much. So
not so much.
Scratch the wine while working.
Yeah, just be a vodka drinker like me, and then you just pour it in your water bottle, and you're totally good.
Sure,
so,
there we go.
Hey, H2O.
H2O.
So I was realizing, we definitely, with Crimelight, our goal is to keep the banter to a minimum. We really like to jump into the case. We do our crime, case discussion afterwards, which is at a point where listeners can get the whole feel of the case and choose whether or not they want to listen to that portion of the show. We certainly hope that they're sticking around and listening, but we thought this would be fun just so that you all can get to know who we are a little more, and a little bit more about us. So Jasmine, first, I'm going to have you just kind of tell the listeners who you are, a little bit about yourself and your background, and your life, and then I'll do the same.
Sweet. So I'm obviously Jasmine, as you all know. I am a mom and I am a wife. I have a nice little, as they quote unquote call it, cushy office job, but work full-time mom, have other hobbies outside of that, which is actually one of our questions we have. So we'll get into that outside of here. Yeah, I don't know. Motorcycles are our life on the weekend in the summers, when we're not busy with kids and sports and all of the above. So yeah, that's me. Like I don't really have anything super exciting going on, I guess. That's kind of sad, huh?
No, we're so busy. We definitely do. So, I mean, this is one thing that me and Jasmine relate so much on because I call her my soul sister. Our lives are very, very similar, just in different transition periods. So we both have kind of the blended family put together. So this is obviously Lauren talking. I was born and raised in Indianapolis. I've moved a little bit all over, like north, south, east, and west of Indy. I am married. We've been married for almost 3 years, but we've been together for about 15. And together we have 2 girls and 2 boys. My youngest is 12 and my oldest they're both 17 now. So our girls are 17 and we have 3 dogs. So my running joke is that when people say like, they're busy, I'm like, tell me about it. I've got, 4 kids, 3 dogs, and a whole Neil. So that's my husband's name. So that is my running joke. So if I don't get back to you or if I leave you on red, it's sometimes it's just because a girl needs a break. Sometimes I hide in closets. But anyway, so now that we've gotten to kind of throw all this out there, what this episode's about, let's pray we still have listeners at this point. We hope that you all want to get to know us a little bit better. So I guess we will jump right into the questions and answers that we asked everybody on Facebook to give us. And then Jasmine and I compiled a few questions of our own to throw in there. So I will have you start first, Jasmine, if you want to read one of our guest questions from the Facebook groups and pages. Tell us who it is and what's the question.
Absolutely. So my favorite question I think we actually got so far, there were a couple, but I'm going to read from Dominique. So Dominique on Facebook asked us, if you could know the answer to any unsolved case, what would it be and why? So I'm going to let you answer that first, Lauren.
Okay, so and just to throw it out there, Dominique is from Let's Wine About Murder, which we absolutely love. So definitely check them out as well. But that's a tough question, and I think for somebody coming from a true crime podcast level, I think people would expect me to say like a really well nationally known case would be my answer. It's not. It's definitely you're going to know what it's going to be. It's definitely going to be Angie Barlow. That is a case that I've personally worked for the past 3.5 years. Coming up in October will be 4 years. Jasmine got to work it with me a few months ago when we were on another show together, and she got to see why I'm so connected to this case. The family is absolutely amazing. Christina advocates for her daughter like no other. I just have fallen in love with the whole family in general, but her case definitely hit me at a point which I'll get into that later because I know there's another question that's going to come up that my answer will kind of blend into that. But it came about at a time where things were really vulnerable in my life, and I attached onto her case and started doing some digging and researching and was able to bring some information to light that wasn't previously known. And that definitely gave me motivation to keep going with this. And unfortunately, Indianapolis is so saturated with crime that unless this information is coming in from the public or the tips, these cases just don't get solved. These detectives are so overworked that it's not like you see on TV. They're not sitting there just like working the case day and night, with the individual case. So definitely Angie Barlow, I would definitely recommend to our listeners listening in. I definitely would love to have you support the cause, but look it up. You'll see some news coverage that we did with another podcast through Channel 6 in Indianapolis. I did an interview and it was broken down. Really gives kind of an idea of what's going on, the background on that. So definitely check that out. But there is a Facebook page that you can get a part of. Just type Angie into your search bar. You will definitely find it. But for me personally, that is the one case right now that it keeps me up at night. And I guess because we know who did it, basically we've worked this case. It's not a matter of a who done it. It's a when will they see a conviction. So
Conviction.
you know what I mean? So for me, that's 100% my answer. So to flip it back around to you, what would be your answer on that question to ask yourself?
See, this one is so hard for me personally because there are so many, like it's so hard to pick and choose. I think one of the most notable ones that I would probably want to see solved is the West Memphis 3 murders. That would definitely be one of my all-time
I totally knew that was coming. Yes. I was waiting on it.
Yes, West Memphis 3. I would love to see the conviction. I would love to see that one solved and a conviction.
So just for people listening, I mean, I know we know that case. A lot of people in true crime are going to know that case. But for those who don't know what that case is, can you just give like a quick rundown of what that the details are behind that and what makes you so interested in wanting to know what happened?
Yeah, so the West Memphis 3, it was back in 93, 94 area. So there were 3 boys in West Memphis, Arkansas that were murdered. They were found, their bodies were found out in the woods. It was Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore. So they were found murdered. Their families, desperately looked. And so there are these 3 teenagers in town. They were your gothy kids. You know what I mean? They were your kids who were into rock and roll, the Ozzy, they wore the black t-shirts. They did all of that. So it was Damian Eccles, Jesse Miskelly, and Charles Baldwin were their legal names. So these 3 guys were kind of your gothier guys in town. Jesse Miskelly was a little bit of his mental state wasn't. He was a little bit slower, not to put that rudely or in a, I guess a non-PC way, which we both.
No, right. But just in a terms of, scholastically, he just wouldn't be in his age.
His intelligence level just was, a little bit under that of people normal for his age. So these were your 3, gothy kids that, were kind of the town outcasts. Long story short, once you dig into this case, there's a lot to dig into with it. They were accused of the murders. The crime scene was completely trashed. I'm talking detectives smoking, throwing their cigarettes down while they're out there at the scene where these kids were found. There was a lot of misinformation.
Well, that's because they already knew who they were going to blame for it. Exactly. They were totally going to be the scapegoats of this crime. So it didn't matter if they trashed it in this little small town. They never knew. This was going to become a national story.
Yes. Yeah. So, it's crazy. The case had some, in 2007, there was more forensic evidence that had come out. And, the crappy part about all of that, these guys were eventually, they were able to take, and I can't remember the name of it's an Alford plea. That's right. It's an Alford plea.
Yeah.
So basically, an Alford plea allows them to assert their innocence while acknowledging that prosecutors had enough evidence to convict them. That is the only way that these three gentlemen got released from jail, which is complete BS because there was literally not enough evidence to convict these three. So yeah, that's the West Memphis Three. It's an amazingly screwed up, twisted case, but that would be the one that I would love to have solved. That's got the more notoriety. I think for just more locally. Obviously, being a Midwest gal, I'm from the South. I was born in Kentucky. So, Kentucky's my thing. I love down home. But, if there was a down home case, I think at this point, honestly, and I know you already know what I'm going to say, but it would be Natasha Fugate Jones. I would love to see her case solved. And for here in Indiana, it would definitely be Abby and Libby and Amaya Robertson. Those would be, so it's so hard to choose. Yeah. But those would all be I would want to see solved.
You definitely just made me think, and I guess shout out to Netflix. But speaking of an Alford plea, The Staircase, which was a documentary that I dug in that rabbit hole. Right. I still don't even know what my thoughts are. Keep in mind, we have a case discussion group. We would love to have more members. I don't know why it's not blown up the same way that our Facebook page has, but that's where we really want to dig into these cases with you. You can totally post your ideas. Everybody can interact. And we can talk about cases that are not necessarily just our cases. So that's where we'll start sharing. We're going to start sharing information that's not just our cases. There's tons of missing people. There's tons of cases out there that deserve attention. We just don't want to confuse our listeners. So rather than flood our personal Crimelight page with those, we're going to start putting those in our Crimelight discussion group. So we definitely ask you to join those. But yeah, an Alford plea was used in The Staircase. So that's what made me think of that. But let's reel it back in. And so, all right, so back to the questions. I'm going to pull up a question here. And our question is actually from, God love her, Christina Barlow Kramer, which is Angie Barlow's mom. We have an awesome relationship. Yes, and I was hoping she was going to chime in. So she asked me, and this is why I said it ties back in together, and you'll know what I mean. But I'm going to ask you this question first. All right. What story has impacted your life the most? It's very similar to Dominique's question, but I guess overall this would mean more kept you up at night, sleepless, has just really taken a part of your heartstrings and affected your life in some way. What case would you say?
It's definitely a tie. I'm with you. Once I got to know the situation with Angie, once you invited me into that whole investigation that you were doing, Angie Barlow is one. Obviously, that one definitely has impacted me. And believe it or not, the Abby and Libby from Delphi, the Delphi murders, as they call it, Abby and Libby from Delphi, that one's impacted me a lot just because it is such a small town and there is literally so much evidence out there. I mean, you literally have a audio clip, you have a visual, you have the crime scene. I mean, you have literally just about everything you think a prosecutor would need.
Well, and I think for you, I hate to cut you off, but just sometimes my mind jumps, but what I think on both of our ends on why that case, and I agree with you on that, it definitely pulls at my heartstrings. Actually, what's crazy is when they went missing, so we have a blended family. She's my daughter, but if we're gonna have to get technical, my stepdaughter is roughly 9 months older than my daughter. So, there comes times where they're at that age group where it's 13, 14 or, what have you. And then they have a small portion of the year where they're the same age. So when they went missing, they were the exact same age my girls were. So my girls were 13 and 14. They were 13 and 14. All I could picture as a mother was this could totally be my girls. And with you, Delphi is very similar to, we're not going to say where you live, obviously, sure, but you live in a very small town.
It's a small town.
Similar to the Delphi way of life, where you would drop your kids off to do a hike, where you leave your doors open. So yeah, I can totally understand why that would be your answer.
Yeah, for sure. For the record, though, we don't leave our doors here open anymore, and we're definitely big advocates.
She's don't come for me.
We're definitely big advocates of our Second Amendment rights here.
So yeah, Don't go for a Google search. Mm-mm. All right. So I feel you. So, okay. So I guess I'm going to turn around and ask myself the same question. So for me, so this is a two-handed answer. So the case that it's not one that many people are going to know, but the case that has affected my life the most, it's going to get so hard. All right. So one of my very, very good friends, Lindsay Wilkins, and you can Google that case. It's insane. But she was such a spark in my life. Like, this girl was that girl that like didn't get embarrassed about anything. You know, that friend that can just like be yourself and you envy that in her. Like, just silly, crazy. Like, she was the life of the party. Like, my bachelorette party would have never been the same had this girl not been there. Just this amazing person. And so I get this, notification on my phone, and I'm leaving work one day. So I get in my car, and my window was a bit foggy. So I pull up Facebook for a minute while I'm waiting for the defrost. And a mutual friend of ours had posted on Facebook, RIP Lindsay Wilkins. And my heart dropped, and it took everything I had to take my finger and touch that screen to hit that tag, because I just knew it wasn't going to go back to my Lindsay. Like, there's no way. And I click it, and it takes me to her page, and my stomach drops, and I make some phone calls, and I find out that they're saying she had committed suicide. And I know this girl. I've been there with her through some trials and tribulations. This girl had seen hell and back. There was nothing. She had some shit going on in that moment, and excuse my mouth, but not to the point. This girl was not suicidal. So to me, I'm sitting here thinking like, I'm mind blown. I'm like, what is going on? Long story short, Aaron Toller is rotting away in jail right now, as he should be. I'm so glad that like he did not get the death penalty. I hope that he has to envision her every day of his life. But I'll rewind. Back to my wedding day. He proposed to her on my wedding day. And when they came, I pulled her to the side, and I'm like, why? And she's like, well, it's easier to tell him yes and still be able to come to your wedding than to tell him no and break his heart and create an argument, and I can't come to your wedding. She was like, funny enough, me being so excited about your wedding made him think that that's what I wanted. And so that was part of the reason why he proposed. And I'm sitting there mind blown. Like, and I've had a few mimosas at this point. So I walk up to him, and I'm like, well, thanks for stealing my thunder. But on a side note, if you ever do anything to this girl, I'll kill you. Yeah, he killed her. He set it up as a suicide and hid the guns. Like, people, you don't call 911 and say, my girlfriend just shot herself, my fiance actually, and there's no gun when they get there. And then his reasoning for doing so was that he was fearful that he was going to violate his probation. I don't give a shit what probation. I don't care if you're on parole. Yeah. There's not any way that you can tell me that the love of your life, your fiance, just shot herself, and that's your first thought is, let me hide this gun. It was the craziest time of my life, because we're trying to grieve, and I'm angry. I still cannot to this day. I don't want to get upset. Whew. I'm glad I made a cocktail for this show. I knew this question was coming up. So I mean, full disclosure, I definitely have a vodka with Crystal Light on ice right here. I still can't go visit my friend and leave and go on a happy thought of like, let me tell you about my day, catch you up. And I visit her often. She's not, she's laid, her memorial is not too far away from where I live. But I'm angry. I'm angry. So this happened on December 8th of 2016. Angie Barlow went missing in October, the end of October of 2016. So I was already I had already jumped into this investigation. In fact, me and Lindsay sat after work one night at a shift at the restaurant we worked at and like talked about this case. And she's like, oh my God, you get so obsessed. I'm like, I do, because like I found things out that the police weren't working on. So that made me feel like I had a mission. So anyway, long story short, I think that was like my strong connection to Angie, was that, when I lost Lindsay, we knew what happened. We had an arrest. We were going to have our day in court. We got our day in court. He's going to serve 76 years. But, this family didn't even know where their daughter was at this time when I'm going through this. So I just took all of my anger and, questions that I had about Lindsay that were solved and turned it into Angie's case. So for me, that's a two-handed answer. It's Angie Barlow and Lindsay Wilkins, because I actually have a tattoo on my shoulder. Me and another friend went and got a tattoo done together when I went to go visit her in North Carolina. And it's actually a infinity symbol mixed in with a bird because she was our free bird, but it goes over my right shoulder. And it's kind of my way of having her with me all the time. It's actually her signature, which her sister Haley was so sweet to send me, because I dug through my wedding cards. And this is such a Lindsay story for anybody that I'm friends with that is going to listen to this episode. Lindsay didn't get her own card. She got a card. She was kind of flaky like that sometimes. So being that she had a busy morning getting proposed to out of the blue, she left the card at home, which is understandable. She gave me the card later. I'd already knew she had the card because, funny enough, I was actually with her when she bought it. But anyway, so she left it at home and she jumps in on somebody else's card. Well, she signed her name like in a position to where it was over like some of the writing. So I couldn't extract just her signature. So her sister sent me a card and I have the tattoo on my shoulder, and she's definitely a reason why I get involved in these cases. But so that would be my answer to that one. So to keep going, what's our next question?
All right. So our next question is, we're going to go with Kathy. And she said, growing up, what was your favorite crime show? Did you even watch true crime shows?
Oh my God, this is great. So yes, totally yes. So it's not even favorite. I'll just tell you my life. Like, so when I was younger, Matlock would come on and my grandma would watch it and I would like sit there. Like, I'm talking, I was like 5 or 6, like, and would watch like Matlock. Like, I don't know many 5 and 6-year-olds that would be entertained by that, but I loved that show and I was like all about it. And then Rescue 911 when I was little was definitely a show that I was obsessed with, like, for sure. Funny story, I know I told you this the other day, but my brother got, we were taking baths. I'd gotten out of the bath. It was time for my brother to take a bath. He's running around 2-year-old naked, not wanting to get in. Runs into a metal door frame and gets this goose egg bump. And my mom's looking at me like, Lauren, call 911. And I'm like, no. And she's like, call 911. I'm like, no. And long story short, I don't call 911. She gets the phone and calls. I go to the neighbor's house while she's off in the ambulance. Later that night, I come home and she's like, Lauren, why would you not call 911? You know what to do in any emergency. Like, we've done this. And I'm like, well, I didn't want to be naked on TV. And she's like, what are you talking about? And so I legit thought at that time, like, Rescue 911 showed up at your house. And I just got out of the bath. Like, I wasn't having that. But New York Undercover was another show. Like, I swear I was going to be an undercover cop when I was like 12. And I mean, First 48. So yeah, that would definitely be a yes to that question, Kathy.
That's hilarious. So,
all right, what about you?
For me, so growing up, what was my favorite crime show? I honestly didn't do a whole lot of crime shows growing up. My dad was a super huge news buff. So, you know, like we watched Dateline, NBC, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Like 2020, Barbara Walters.
Yes, investigative stuff like that. So, I didn't really, and you know, and we've talked a little bit. I didn't really start digging into the true crime until obviously the West Memphis 3 case caught my attention in my teen years, and it's really funny. I was one of those little gothy kids in school, so I
she was.
It was a little gothy emo. My husband actually and I went to school together, and he will tell you that in high school he was afraid of me because I was that gothy kid. So. Yeah, so I didn't get into the West Memphis 3 until actually there was a compilation CD that had come out, and it was actually the funds from that were actually to go to benefit the West Memphis 3. So I didn't do a whole lot of it watching it growing up. I definitely didn't get into the true crime until, you know, that CD came out and made me aware about them. So obviously now I'm into true crime for sure. First 48 is one of my favorites. I was definitely hooked on and it's not, you know, the real life television or, you know, reality TV, whatever you want to call it. I was definitely into like the CSIs, NCIS, you know, stuff like that. Hawaii Five-0.
SVU.
Yes, Law and Order, SVU, you know, yeah, that's classics. And I can still binge on that, you know, on Netflix and Hulu.
I have such a hard time because, you know, I told you I was really into Grace and Frankie. Whoops. And then the husband from it is definitely from Law and Order. And it's just flips me out every time him and Martin Sheen kiss. It's just to see him. He was such a serious, like such a serious, like, he wasn't a cool cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no cool cats or kittens there. He was serious. So, like, and he plays like an awesome character. I love him. Saul, he's the best. Like, hilarious. Sorry, we're getting sidetracked.
Welcome
All right,
to every phone
let's
Lauren and I have ever.
Absolutely. All of them. And so we are going to go back into another question, which it's our last guest question because I don't know, people, you didn't have that many questions for us. So we had to come up with some questions, which is fine. Maybe we're intimidating. That's probably totally it. Just kidding. All right. So Shonda asked, what drew you and Jasmine into true crime and giving a voice to the voiceless? And I mean, I guess that kind of ties back into, I don't know. I've always been fascinated with like, I've always been super empathetic and like a helpful person that wants to help people. So, I actually applied for the police force, unbeknownst to my husband. Yeah. So this is before we were married and I just really didn't even know if they would like contact me back. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do it because I don't really have a shot, even though, you know, whatever. So I did. And then they like contacted me back and I didn't follow through, but it's because he like had this coming to Jesus moment, was like, Lauren, we have 4 kids. Like, you know, the biggest city next to us is Indianapolis. You're probably going to get put on IPD, like to do what, you know, you're going to have to work your way up. It was a whole thing. So, I mean, I guess to turn this into a different question, I'll answer a different question, Sean. I'm going to flip it because you had no idea what the question is going to be. So, because I feel like we kind of answered this. So we're going to kind of scratch the Q&A on this one and just tell you a different story. So Jasmine and I are internet best friends. So we actually met on a
internet.
Yeah, so it's kind of, we didn't meet on Match.com. We didn't, you know, Plenty of Fish or what is that one? The Farmers dating.
Farmers
do you remember how? Yeah, do you remember seeing those commercials? It was like Farmers Only. Yeah. Like yeah, I had that song at the end that was like
that site was like it should have just said like
it used to pop on like after Ginny Jones.
I feel like it should have been like an Indiana and Ohio only dating service.
It probably was. Half the country doesn't even know what we're talking about right now. But we're from Indiana and we have Farmers Only here. So anyway, back to just other things. Jesus Lord. This is why we do a serious show, because we have to like fake the funk, people. If you listen to blooper reels from us, it would be amazing. So anyway, we met on another podcast that we were on that we just had a different vision. We came together on some things and we're like, let's just do us together, boo, because we do that well. So we met another podcast, but like we had like this internet love because we just like clicked immediately, and then we would talk on the phone and whatever. But like we were like close. It was so, because like now I understand catfish, like how people get catfish. I understand this. Because we had this like solid bond where I'm like telling this girl things that people don't know about me. Cause like I'm very social, but like if you, even people listening to this, they're going to be like, yeah, Lauren's totally social. She'll talk to everybody and anybody. I totally will. Like you can be in the line at me at the grocery store and I know your life, but you won't know a whole lot about me. You'll know I have kids, but like, I'm just, I don't know, deep down, like I'm a little closed off. So we clicked and but we had this whole friendship before we actually ever met in person. And then it was like obviously the same and grew from then. It was like, you know, but it was like love at first or second click. So that's how we came together, people. We're gonna tell our grandchildren this story. They're gonna be like, we met on the interwebs. When we're sitting on our porch with iced tea and they fly off in their flying cars or wherever we're at in our world at that time. Or maybe we're all still quarantined and we live in bubbles and biodomes. Who knows where we're going in this world right now. But so at any rate, that ends the questions from our guests. But we have questions.
We have questions. We have questions for each other.
All right. So we wrote some questions because we were like, we need to fill. We want you. Maybe you people are not listening anymore and we're only going to hear this ourselves. We don't know. I'll hear this in editing. I'm not going to edit this very much other than take that blooper reel out, which we'll definitely play at the end. So stick around at the end if you want to hear the bloopers, guys. I'm definitely throwing that in because Brielle is too cute. We're throwing it in. So my question is, where would you live if you could live anywhere in the world? Or no, the country. Let's be real. Not the world, because like we don't have them budgets. Like we're not going worldwide at this point in life. But like just in the country, realistically, like United. Plus, we want to have those rights. Yeah. So in this country, where would you like to live?
See, like this one's hard. I'm so torn because I'm a Southern girl, obviously at heart. I tell people all the time, if I could go back home, and home is Kentucky for me, if I could go back home to Kentucky, I would in a heartbeat. Kentucky has my heart. The hills, the recreational activities down there that you can do, and I'm not talking illegal ones. Just you can.
She's not talking about a meth lab, like guys. She's talking about the legal ones.
You can grab a 4-wheeler and head up on some old strip mine jobs up there.
You could slip and slide down the holler. Do you remember watching that one MTV show that had like the holler? Like it was like West Virginia or something. But whenever you talk about Kentucky and people talk about a holler, I always think of that. And I'm like, I remember that episode where they slip and slide down this like hill in their holler. I don't know why. Sorry. I keep cutting you off and chiming in on your questions. So like I'm just trying to give you content.
Well, we know I use it. So
no problem. So throw it in. You would slip and slide in the holler. That's what makes you. That would be a choosing point for Kentucky.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So you can get in your down there. We call them rhinos or side by sides. It just depends on what part of the country you're from is what you call those.
One word: moonshine.
Listen, true story. My grandpa did 6 months in a state pen for having a moonshine still in.
That's
absolutely
amazing.
He was in a dry.
Did you ever watch that show on Discovery Channel? That was like
yes, we binge watched that, girl. What are you talking?
Yeah, me and my brother used to watch it, and my husband used to make fun of me. So then we would both talk in that accent to annoy him. And Jim Bob down there, he would get he'd go down that holler, and he'd make that damn moonshine, and man, I can't even tell you. We would go hours, guys. I'm not a voiceover artist, by the way.
Don't contact Lauren. She's busy. She can't do voiceovers. Well, and some of that's a little dramatized. You know what I mean? Like, when I call my mammal talk, like, some of that twang, they definitely had them, like, heavy on the twang for... so it'd be Kentucky, but I've always said I want to live by water too. So I would love to live on a beachy area, but like real talk, I'm not about hurricanes. I can handle thunderstorms and I can handle, tornadoes and all that good stuff. Cause being in the Midwest, that's what it's about, being in tornado. But hurricanes, no. I mean, I would love the beach, but maybe can I get like 2 houses? Can I have my main residence and then house on a beach?
That's a goal in life. If we just keep grabbing one of those scratch offs when we grab our Polar Pop from the gas station.
Make it big podcasting.
In Indiana, everybody has a fountain pop. Just get you a scratch off. That's $2 a day. And maybe you'll get a second house. I did find, I shared it on my Facebook. It's not public. You see that house? It's in Kentucky and it's 3 houses. So why don't you get that, girl? I'll live in one of the other ones. Then I'm like free rent. Then I'll get the other house. And then we'll just have like combined compounds to switch back and forth to.
We just got to hope it doesn't end up like Waco. But I mean, we don't have that.
Right. Because to answer that question for myself, all day, Florida, I know. Okay. And I already know what you just thought. People listening are like, Florida, haha, Florida man. That's fine. You know what? Most of that happens inland. And if you have that many problems surrounded by salt, sand, water, and sun, I'm going to need you to get your life together anyway. And you just need Jesus. You need a resurrection. I don't know what you need. You need holy water, not vodka water. But yeah, I am just happier in that element. Like I'm always cold. I have super low blood pressure. Whenever they take it to the doctor, they look at me like, we got to redo it. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, check my chart. Like it's naturally low. I'm cold all the time. In the summer, like my husband like wants to like turn the air down to, I don't know, like a fucking Wendy's frosty temperature. And I am cuddled up in like a blanket and like, I might as well have on a onesie for God's sakes. But yeah, so I'm picking the sun, the beach, the sand. I love South Florida. Like the Keys is my favorite. However, we went back last year on vacation. We took the kids to Deerfield Beach for like, we did a week trip. So I wasn't taking them to the Keys the whole time because for one, it's not like that kid friendly. But I wanted them to experience it and go to the southernmost point and all that. So we rented 2 different places. Yeah, so we rented 2 different Airbnbs. And so we took them down the Keys. But after the hurricane, it was devastating. Like it ruined the area. Bahia Honda Beach is like my all-time like favorite beach. And we went back and it was just sad. It was so sad. It just doesn't, it hasn't like regrew. It hasn't. And down in the Keys, they have like their little mini deer. And they like lost a ton of them during the
vacation in Key West.
It's amazing because you feel like you're in the tropics, but you're like in your own country. Like the water is crystal clear. Like I remember we went to this beach and it had like a really, really shallow, like sandbar, essentially just coming right off the beach that went really, really far out. So you had to walk really far before you even got like up to your calves in water. But we went down in September for a honeymoon, and it was so hot that like it felt like hot tub water walking out in that, and it was crazy. Like I was like blown away. I'm like, wow, this, and that was our first trip down there. But all right, so we'll move on because people, you know how we'll just keep talking, and we have to remember this isn't an actual phone call between me and you. No, I need to remember this. No, it's not you, it's me. It's really me telling myself that. That was like my own correction. Like Lauren,
Really?
you're not actually on the phone. All right, so now you ask your question because I asked one of mine.
So
this episode's not 30 minutes, and that's fine. If anybody's listening still, we love you. We love you. Tell us that you listen. Tell us if you like this episode, what you don't like about it. But we're just going to roll with this, and you guys can all just quit listening whenever you want.
We wanted to get
won't hate
out to you guys to at least make us a little more personable while we're working on
the Right, absolutely. And it's quarantine. What else are you people doing? Nobody, what are you doing? Listen to this episode. If you've not listened to all this and you actually know either one of us personally, I'm going to be extra.
Extra. She's going to be
extra offended. And when I can see you in person, I'm going to tell you about it. All right, go ahead.
So my question is, what are your hobbies when you're not podcasting? When we're not podcasting, what are our hobbies? So I'm going to let you answer first.
Do you want me to talk about like?
Yeah. Let's stick with those.
No, I'm just totally just joking. Cause like, I would never tell anybody that I run. Yeah, I mean, I run an underground poker game, and you know that meth lab that I have. No, I'm just joking, guys. Totally just joking. Freaking kidding. All right, so I don't know, like I'm so busy, honestly. Like, I mean, because during the day, so Jasmine's a cubicle. She has like a Karen and a Susan to deal with. I run my own business, and so like I'm an owner operator. So like that's how I fell in love with podcasts, because I'm at work by myself all day and I need something to listen to, and it makes time go by, and it's great. And I do kind of monotonous work. But what was the question again?
God, I love you. So
what am I answering?
Hobbies when you're not.
Hobbies, yes, because I have none, and that's why I was like, what am I answering? Hobby? What is that word? That's why I forgot, because I'm like, what does that even mean? I have 4 kids and 3 dogs. That's my hobbies. Whatever they're involved in. Throwing a rope every now and then is my hobby. Cleaning up dog poop in the backyard. You want to call it hobby? No, I mean, I have hobbies. I mean, I don't know. I guess this podcast, this is like a hobby and passion. I guess at this point, it's like obviously not a profession, but, I have a full-time job during the day that I do. I had a part-time job before Corona took it over. I'm just busy all the time. So like hobbies, I guess I'm just at that point in life where like, I'll have hobbies when I'm older. Like I just have like, this is my passion, and then my kid's life, and they kind of dictate what I do. So yeah, same for, and that's legit going to be your answer.
Yeah. I mean, it's
like, you know what I mean? Lately for the coronavirus.
Okay, so, aside from working this nice full-time job from home, which I am thankful, please don't think that I'm not, I totally am. I have been sewing masks for healthcare workers and people in need in our community. I have donated all of those masks, for healthcare workers have been donation, to them, no charge. If anybody wanted to, donate, I've had a lot of people, no, I have to pay you for your time. And I'm like, okay, well just, donate what you think it's worth so I can grab more materials to sew this. So, so that's kind of a hobby I've had.
Which is awesome, because I totally told you about that lady on my Facebook the other day. It was like, I've got masks that are this kind for 10 and this one for 15. And for everyone you buy, I'll donate to. And I'm like, I'm just like, you're like those people that went and bought all the hand sanitizer and want to sell it for $12.
Yeah, I'm definitely not trying to take advantage of anybody
at all. You've done so good. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like I was, super, super amazed. So yeah. So doing good is our hobbies.
Obviously I have the, we have a Harley, so,
True. You do actually have, that's true. So
like
biking,
deep down, I'm some like weird little pioneer woman. Like I crochet and I sew and whatever. Like, I guess those are more my winter times, but yeah, we have a Harley. We love our Harley. We also have we've got a C10 project truck right now, a little rat rod truck. So my husband and I are
so if I combine like you and my dad, I'm good. Like my dad's like all doomsday prepper. Essentially, but like this Corona like validated him so hard. He was just like, look at me now. And I'm like, look at you now. But then between him and you, like you can sew our clothes.
Yeah,
like, we could live on a compound. You could
crochet.
We're good.
We're good.
Totally
we got
good.
This.
Absolutely. We're good.
I can't grow a garden. So, we got this. Let's just compound now. Yeah.
Right. I have a green thumb. Like, whoa. So let me just tell you that right now. So if you, dream job. what would be your dream job if you could have any job, like not, schooling, them time, like all of that's not a factor, like student loans, none of that bullshit. What
My
would be your
honest to
dream
God
job?
dream job.
And actually making money, and in dream job, keep in mind, this does not even matter like how much money you're making. Like this is your dream job. Like money's no object. Like you could be making nothing, or you could be
So this
making like
isn't
$1
like
trillion. Like it's
TV where I'm
whatever
looking
you
for an
choose.
apartment and I'm like a butterfly farmer and I'm on $1 million budget. It's one of those scenarios, right? Like I could live like that.
Right. You had money's no object. So you could pick any job. You could totally be like a
Yeah.
grasshopper breeder. You can be a whatever you want,
Dream
girl.
job for
Whatever
me,
you want.
honest to God, would be and I don't know if this would be a technical term for it, but like an internet detective. I would love to get online and find some of these people. I think it's a thing you and I have, discovered while doing our podcasting, and we dig in.
That's like our favorite part. That's really what we are now. Like that is our
like
hobby.
Digging in and doing the investigating part of it. We do that. I mean, obviously we don't do that to an extent that we're going to cause ourselves or, any sort of issues that we have to deal with later. We know that there's a limitation on how far we can go, but
right. We're not like crazies out there stalking people and going real life. I mean, we've gone real life, but we don't go real life close to home. And we also don't, I mean, and it's fine. Let's not even tell them our secrets. But anyway, we're smarter than they know.
That would be it. I would love to watch, get on and see people's, I guess, online footprints and help.
You'd be like that girl from
yes, maybe that would be it. Or I have a lot of people tell me I look like Garcia from NCIS, which I realize that's kind of a little bit different, but
girl, I don't even like that anybody told. I mean, I love that character, and personality wise, fuck yeah. Maybe that's what they meant, but I don't see that you look like her whatsoever. So, moving on, I'm going to answer another question that you asked me, which is the same question. What's my dream job? Because I'm not going to focus on you look like Garcia. So that's funny you say that, because absolutely 2000%. So the whole reason that I applied, when I was saying earlier, I applied to police force, my husband had to remind me, like, Lauren, you're not going to go in and just be a detective.
Yeah.
Like that's not going down. And that's literally my dream job, like out there, like having full credentials to like dive in and go real life and like have the authority and like the resources to do what I kind of do now, but like on a level to where it would actually matter and hold up in a court of law to where we could get convictions and take people down all day. Like that would be my dream job. I've always wanted to, when I said New York undercover earlier, like I used to really want to be an undercover cop. Like I thought that'd be really cool and exciting. And then I became a mom. And so up until I became a mom, like I still wanted to become an undercover cop. Like that was actually like my dream job. Like I've always been interested in being in law enforcement. So that was my dream job. Then I had my daughter Amaya, and that changed my reality for that. And I'm like, eh. So I was like more like, okay, FBI, like, what have you. Definitely all day. Like if I could just do anything, I would just definitely be a homicide detective, because, working with like either missing persons or homicide, that's the extension of that and the people that are connected to that. I mean, when you're missing, a lot of times, sadly, you're not missing. You're
right.
deceased and you're assumed as missing. Very rarely, I mean, within the first 48 hours, if your assailant and your, attacker or what have you, abductor doesn't kill you in the first 48 hours,
right.
That's extremely rare. So, and I'm talking about people that are abducted. Now there are people that just go missing because on their own, accord, they choose to do so. But yeah, that would definitely, because it's the not knowing with these families and the justice that's deserved. I mean, nobody gets to play God. And that's always been my thing. I don't care what you're involved with. If you are a drug addict, if you are out there making choices other people wouldn't, like that, none of that matters to me. Like you're always somebody's child and potentially sibling, or you're definitely somebody's loved one. So somebody cares. And so, yeah, so that would be my dream job for sure. All right, my bad. We took that one a little long. All right, what's your...
Okay, so since we're on the COVID-19 quarantine / lockdown / do whatever you want, I don't even know what we're calling it at this point, because it feels like a lockdown, and then other times I go to Walmart and I'm like, yeah, we're definitely not social distancing enough for me. I hate you, Walmart.
At all, especially at Walmart. You can never social
especially if you live in a small town and Walmart is all there is to do, you're guaranteed to run into everybody, their brother, their uncle, and their cousin, and they're all going to stop you and tell you the same story 48 times. But anyways, back to my question. So what are you currently binging on as far as Netflix and Hulu are concerned? So what are you binging?
Oh, that's a good question. I love this. So I'm going to tell you everything I've binged because I have found some amazing shows and I'm super excited about them. So apparently it was a CW show, which I would normally not condone because that's shit like Buffy and Supernatural. But there's a show called In the Dark, and it's this blind chick who starts out as an alcoholic and she tries to solve the murder of her friend. And it was awesome. And there's one season, and I'm really hoping they're gonna make a second one. Secondly, I normally like stick with everything crime related, but I needed a break. Like I needed a mental break with all of like everything I normally watch and what we're working on. So I started Grace and Frankie. It's amazing. Love it. Definitely recommend. Last night I started Little Fires Everywhere and I finished that today when I woke up. So just tell you about that. It's 8 episodes and they're all like an hour long. And it's awesome. I stayed up till 4:30 a.m. watching it and it was so good. I loved it. And I've never hated Reese, I can't even talk, Reese Witherspoon. It's one of those you have to slow down for. More in this show. Like, totally just wanted to give her the good 1-2 knockout. So, I've been watching a lot of that. I've caught up on like all of my normal shows. Love Grey's Anatomy, other than crime. That's like one of my other shows that I'm totally into. But yeah, checked out some documentaries. Obviously Tiger King, watched all that. I definitely watched that before you and was like, you got to watch this. It was crazy as shit. But now I'm kind of sick of it. Cause like if I hear Carol Baskin one more time, I'm going to flip out. So I'm kind of, yeah. So what have
we
you been
started
watching?
binge watching, obviously, Tiger King at your, you know,
It was
yes,
good, but I'm
based
just
on your
over it
recommendation,
now.
we haven't finished it yet. We're probably one of the few that have gotten like the first episode in, and we still want to binge, just haven't had time. Because remember, we definitely have kids here, so we're, we don't get a binge until late night. Our Netflix and Hulu is tied up any other time.
Right.
Waco was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
it was
and like
so
Waco,
good. I forgot to say that.
Waco reminds me of why I don't know why I absolutely love living in this country, and not that I totally condone how the government did that, but I love that the fact that freedom was out there to do that that series. I definitely had empathy for the people involved in that cult, but I definitely
I mean that's what was so balls to the walls. Like going into that, we've all heard of Waco, and everybody's like, "Oh, it was some crazy people, and they defied the government." But like, you never really got to hear that backstory of, you know what I mean? That there were inside people and there are differing opinions. Like that's never been really put into the into the Crimelight. So that was awesome to hear. Like the Branch Davidians, like possibly were. I mean, watching it, like, I mean, if you just take it for face value and watch it, it definitely feels like fuck our government. Like that was bullshit. And I totally sided. I was like all team Branch Davidian and like team pro cult by the end of it. Cause I just thought it was bullshit, which granted it says there's varying differences as far as like the stories, like they both claim to do it.
That was just so well done because I had empathy for the Branch Davidians, but at the same time, like, when you go real life with that, obviously that is a drama series, a little mini series. It's, actors. It's not like a documentary meant to get you in your feels and feel for these people, so I love that. But at the same time, like going back and getting real life with it, do I think the U.S. government handled it correctly? Absolutely not. I think they totally dropped the ball. You cannot bring people like that and attack your own, like, no, you don't attack your own U.S. citizens like that. But at the same time, there was reports of child abuse, things of that nature. So
right, but some of it was definitely fabricated outright. Like, you know what I mean? Some of it like was just completely fabricated, and that actually is factual. Like if you go back, like through the test, like whatever, we're not going to get it all into it, but anyway. It definitely makes you fear. Like, there's so many good rights with being an American, absolutely 100%. But like, I mean, especially what's going on with this coronavirus. Perfect example. Like, everybody's a little fearful of what the hell's really going on, and we don't know. Like, we want to back our country, and we're so pro-Americans, and we have. And I'm definitely a pro-American. Like, but I'm just like, damn, that definitely it put me in my feels, and it was one of those documentaries or minis. And that's the thing is like, it can't be a documentary, but like to be a fly on that wall. You know what I mean? To know what really happened would have been amazing. So, all right. So for my last question, before we wrap up this amazing episode that I've had so much fun doing, like I feel like we're definitely going to do some bonus episodes like this because it's just chill to do. Like there's not all the
yeah, people have to understand
worry
what we
like,
deal with. Not that I don't want to say what we deal with. Like
it's how do you ask somebody to, hey, and people come to us as well, but we've definitely reached out some families like, would you like our help? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. To ask someone to speak on the hardest day of their life and to try to go about it in the most sensitive manner as if it was you, because I always empathize with these families and put myself in their shoes. It's a very hard place to be in, to get that information out there that is factual and provides the listener with enough information that could potentially help solve the case, because we only work on missing persons and unsolved murders. We don't believe in glorifying it as just a story to be told. We'll leave that to the news. We want to help find solutions and answers for these families, and we can't promise them anything, but that's extremely hard to do for sure.
When you're an empath, and we're both empaths, we get connected with these people. We build relationships, and we soak up their emotions and their feelings and what they're going through. And we still have to step back and look at the facts, absolutely. But it's nice to do a lighthearted episode like this, just because and I think Lauren can say the same. This is obviously a hobby, but at the same time, I bet you I spend a good 75 to 80% of my day with thoughts of the podcast in and out of my head.
Yeah, it's all day. I mean, like, I'll be at work, you'll be at work, and we're simultaneously working on this. Our free time, I mean, God love our families and our children for and the bloopers will explain that, like the genuine fun we have with this, but we realize we're taking time away from our families, and they support that 100%. So that's amazing. So yeah. All right. So for my last question then, and this is the last one. This is that kicker. All right. If you could interview any serial killer, dead or alive.
You go first. I want to hear yours first.
No. Oh my God.
Yours is so interesting. I feel like mine's going to be just.
It is. Okay, but damn it. Only because I told you what it was.
I feel like mine's going to be like one of those typical girl answers, or not even typical girl, but like.
Okay. All right. And that's probably why this is my answer, because I don't think anybody's going to expect this answer. And we discussed, okay, so prior to us recording, we totally had a phone chit chat, obviously. You're hearing that. But I told her my answer, but then we went over a few other serial killers. Like Ed Kemper, a lot of people would say him. Like Mindhunter, come on now, that blew your mind. Like his intellect and understanding and frankly, he's able to be sensitive. It's a mind fuck. Like it should be called mind fuck, not Mindhunter. So that would be answer for a lot of people, I think. I mean, there's your typicals that are out there. I mean, you've got Manson, you know what I mean? You've got some major names out there. I'm going to throw people one who I think the people that are with me are going to be with me 1,000%. And other people are going to be like, for one, who are you even talking about? And if you don't know, Google his name and podcast, and then listen, and then get involved, get understood. Israel Keys. And I'll tell you why. Because we don't know shit. That's why. So he is like this crazy mastermind that was getting away with these crimes that he is admitted to, and they've been able to basically confirm and tie him to simply based off the information he was able to give that only the killer would know. He got tired of getting away with it. I think he's gotten away with so many crimes that he was only willing to give them a taste, simply because during the interrogation, he wanted details of crimes to be left out. Certain sexual acts that were performed, things of that nature, which I won't get into. I'm going to leave that up to our listeners to dig in. He didn't want that disclosed. So he said he would give you a little taste and tell you things. But he tried to make this deal with law enforcement, and it was a no-go. So basically he killed himself while he was in custody. So he was going to take those secrets with him, but he was found to have killed this couple that was in, I believe it was Vermont. It was, but they still haven't found their bodies. He's probably, I mean, I don't know. He was like that kid that grew up. I mean, he was in the military. He's extremely smart. He kind of was into Insane Clown Posse, kind of some weird, you know what I mean? That different stuff. But with his last crime, what's so crazy is that with Samantha Koenig, so she worked at this coffee booth. He completely botched everything in this so that he would get caught. He went to the ATM, pulled money out, and kept the car in view of the camera, like, and set it up. And this is a mastermind to the point where this couple that I was just telling you about that's from Vermont, their names are Bill and Lorraine Courier, of Exis, Vermont. I just looked it up. So he broke into their house on June 8th, tied them up. I'm going to read it off Wikipedia. Tied them up before driving them to an abandoned farmhouse where he shot Bill, sexually assaulting and strangling Lorraine. Their bodies have never been found. 2 years prior to the Courier's death, Keyes hid a murder kit, which he later used to kill them near their home. After the murders, he moved most of the contents to a new hiding place in Parrishville, New York, where they remained until after his arrest. Keyes' last known victim was 18-year-old Samantha Koenig of a coffee shop in Anchorage, Alaska. He kidnapped her from her workplace on February 1st, 2012, took her debit card and other property, sexually assaulted her, then killed her the following day. Left her body in a shed, went to New Orleans. He left on a pre-booked 2-week cruise with his family to the Gulf of Mexico. Returned to Alaska. He snapped a 4-day-old issue of the Anchorage News alongside her body that it made it appear like she was still alive. She was dead. He actually took fucking like tape or glue or whatever and opened this girl's eyes. Like, to this day, you can, and I don't, viewer discretion was not going to be applied to this episode, but right now, trigger warning. Don't Google the picture unless you can handle Googling the picture. But it is a public picture where this woman is posed. He sent it in to, he demanded a ransom and pretended like she was alive. She was already dismembered. He disposed of her in a lake in North Anchorage. He's robbed banks. He's possibly linked to 11 deaths, but here's the kicker. So we're from Indiana. Lauren Spear, who was down in Bloomington at IU, he is definitely a possibility in her death. And I don't care who says otherwise. Like, you can't tell me it's not a possibility. Look up Lauren Spear, look up your serial keys. You're going to be able to read the different, conspiracies, if you want to call them that. I call them theories, but anything's possible with her case. That's my answer on that. So since you made me go first,
see, I don't know. Like, mine's a toss-up. So, obviously, Gary Ridgway, he's, the famous, notorious Green River killer. Yeah, he murdered the 48 prostitutes and runaways. He definitely would be one. I think he's just interesting because, he made that brazen attempt to throw investigators off by, just some of the things that he did. Just dig into it. It's a super well-known case. Obviously, he's one of the top. But the fact that he made that brazen attempt by writing into the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, that was literally his words. Obviously, trying to throw people off. Samuel Little, I think.
Have you ever looked at pictures of Gary Ridgway though? What's crazy is he looks like so trusting. He looks like one of your like Christian friends, like super. Like those families that have like Bible Sunday, and like Meatloaf Monday and Family Game Night Wednesday. He looks like the dad of that family. Like he definitely doesn't look like a truck driver, but he has like that. He's kind of like a Ted Bundy where he has that like very sensible, like trusting look to where once you see him, you understand how he was able to manipulate and get these victims because he didn't look like
exactly.
a quote-unquote
Samuel
Little's
interesting just because he had that photographic memory. They presume he killed like 93. They've proven that he killed 50. He could, he did the boxing thing and he had that photographic memory. He could recall faces and body types and specific details about locations and stuff.
Right.
A bonus one is Clementine Bernabet. You'll have to look into her. That's fascinating. Yes, they're interesting. I would love to interview her. For those that don't know much about that case, so she actually in the early 1900s, she lived in Louisiana, and she got into voodoo. And I guess for me, my parents raised me, very, very strict Baptist growing up. So a lot of your religious crimes, like, crimes of murder that involve religion, fascinate me. Cult crimes are super interesting. Jim Jones, I would love to interview Jim Jones. Would love. That would probably be one of my all-time tops. But anyway, so she got involved in voodoo. And she named her church the Church of Sacrifice. And it gained this huge following, a very large following. Eventually, she started, like, her preaching started encouraging her members of her church to begin murdering with people with axes as they slept. And they did it to show their devotion to her as the high priestess. So, you've got this voodoo and you've got, these axe murders. Yes.
It's crazy how people can like
Yes. So she
manipulate
is
people's
responsible
minds.
for at least 17 axe murders herself, and she was considered to be the very first Black female serial killer. So
that's interesting. So yeah. And it's
yes,
like that down south kind of story. So for last one, before we wrap it up, and I just want to throw this out here because I don't think a lot of people know about him. Look it up for show. Pedro Lopez. He has ties. Crazy, crazy, crazy. It'll blow your mind, guys. All right. So I know a lot of you are going to hear this name and you are like, who is that? So he has ties to Colombia, Peru, Ecuador. I'm just going to flat out read it off of Wikipedia to give you like flat out facts at this moment. So his proven victims are 110, but he is tied to and possibly involved with, due to evidence or him admitting it himself, to over 300, guys. 300. He reigned his little spree of crime from 1969 to 1979. He was a child murderer and rapist, which is the worst of the worst. He was actually known as the monster of the Andes. He targeted young girls between the ages of 8 and 12. Arrested in 1980 and convicted in 83 of killing 3 young girls, but claimed to have killed hundreds. Despite being believed to be one of the most prolific serial killers of the 20th century, he was, you guys want to hear it? Wait, get ready. Sit down. Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you want to hear what I'm about to say? All right. He was released in the late 1990s. Released, guys. Released. But he's proven to be tied to 110. Yeah. So God bless America, because that would never happen here, but that's insane to me. And that's why he was an answer I was going to give you. But then Israel Keys is just so interesting to me because it's like so close to home. And my feelings that he could be tied to Lauren Spear made me give that answer. But all right. So this wraps up our Q&A. We are at the end. So if you've listened all the way through, again, we absolutely thank you. We have such a passion to do this, but we wanted to give you guys a little bit of our personality, who we are, let loose a little bit. We're also, you know what I mean? Everything's so serious right now with coronavirus and staying at home, and we take that very seriously, which is why we're going so stir crazy. So please don't think we're making fun. Stay home, stay safe. Absolutely. Wash your hands, folks. I can't preach it enough. Gloves will cross-contaminate. Be careful with that. Please do not drop them in parking lots. You will be like this. You're the same to me as people don't take their carts back. Take your carts back. Throw away your gloves in a trash can. Also, we're on some new platforms, and we're pretty much worldwide at this point, Jasmine. Like, we're pretty stoked. So, guys, we got to tell you, we're getting some good numbers. You guys, we can't thank you enough. Like, we are really getting some great feedback. As far as ratings and reviews on Apple's, we're doing amazing. Recommendations on Facebook, we can't thank you all enough. But we have reached over 12 countries. We have listeners. I'm so excited. Like, there's worldwide listeners. We are being listened to in Australia, Canada, Mexico, Taiwan, Canada. What was a few other ones? The UK. We have some England listeners. We also have some people over in France. So we thank you all so much for tuning in, and we have spread. So we are now available on Apple and iTunes. And if you love us, please show us some love. Give us a rating and review, because that's how we're going to stagger up there and get, able to help these families and get ourselves known. So that's our biggest thing. We're not so much worried about, the numbers and per se, as much as we're worried about the numbers, because the more that hear these cases, the more people that are going to hear this information, and you never know who has that little tidbit information that could possibly help one case. If we do 2,000 episodes and all we help is one family, that's still going to mean the world to us. So we definitely recommend to subscribe first and foremost, but give us a rating and review, because it definitely helps us out. But we're also available on Google Play. I always say Play. That's where you download apps. No, take that back. We're available on Google Podcasts. My bad. I always want to say that. We're available on iHeart now. We are on Spotify. So there's all your major listeners right there. I love Stitcher. I'm a Stitcher fan, because I could tend to find most podcasts that maybe are only available on smaller platforms, where you have to subscribe or download the app. And I don't necessarily want to have to download like your RSS feeds app, but I'm a huge podcast listener. So I love Stitcher for that reason. So you can catch us on Stitcher. We've had tons of friends tell us that we're available on their podcast app that they specifically use in their phone. So look us up, Crimelight Podcast. It's Light. Jasmine, tell them about where they can find us as far as getting case suggestions into us. We do prefer that you are a personal family or friend of a victim. I do want to put that out there really quick, only because it means the world to us that they're behind us and are willing to have their stories be told. And that we want people to come to us. We don't want to step on toes, but we want to be here to advocate. So we don't want to glorify anybody's crime. So if people aren't coming to us and willing to be a part of it, we're just not gonna, you know what I mean? We're just, it makes it hard because we want to give the facts and we want to have the approval of the family and friends. But with that being said, tell them where, as far as email, Facebook.
So you guys can email us obviously at crimelightpodcast@gmail.com. You can obviously, I'm sure most of you have found us on Facebook that are listening. That is currently our major platform. We've also started a Twitter and an Instagram this week. Look for us on Twitter and Instagram. We're working on getting our social media presence out there so we can, as Lauren said before, help these families get the word out. The numbers, yes, it's numbers, but it's not numbers for us. We want those numbers because we want to get these cases out to as many people as possible, to help these families get justice for their loved ones. So those are the places you can find us. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I missed?
So our Facebook page, Crimelight Podcasts, and then we also have our discussion group, which I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but we really, really, really want to get people involved with that simply because that's where we're going to start posting other cases that maybe we're not involved with, but we still feel like they should be put out there. And we want you to interact with us. So if you have something you're thinking, if you heard an episode, if you have information to add, if you have an opinion, whatever, that's where we want you to hop on and interact with us. And we will see their message. We will see your comments. We will absolutely, we're really good about that. Throughout the day, if I'm not on, Jasmine is, and vice versa. So we will definitely, within an hour, we're going to get back to you for sure. So that's going to wrap up our episode. We hope you all enjoyed it. We hope that you have, liked us on Facebook. Rating and reviews on Apple and iTunes are always amazing. And definitely, show us our support and give us, a shout out where, ever you would like to place that. Jasmine mentioned we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter now, and as well as Facebook. But we super appreciate everybody that's been sharing all of our stories on all of our platforms and just really kind of jumping in and participating. So until next time, we will definitely be hearing from us in probably 2 weeks. We've got a lot going on, but we just want to give everybody their due diligence and spend the time on them that that they deserve. So we want to do it right, but we are working to get to weekly. So very soon, that is going to be our next announcement to you for sure, is we are going to go weekly. That is our goal. Again, if you have case suggestions, send them in. And until next time, we thank you all. We could totally have a bloopers reel. Hi, Briella.
Bye.
Hi, what are you doing?
I'm about to go potty.
You're about to go potty. What?
Your computer's almost out of battery.
My computer battery is just fine, girlfriend. Do you need to go potty?
Mama, it's almost out.
It's plugged in. It's charging. Yeah. Can you go potty now before you pee in my?
This is our technical support. Briella Marie is coming in for some technical support.
Exit.
All right.
I better not close this door. I have to.
Totally going to make a blooper reel for this episode.
All right.
For everybody listening right now, this is going to get included. And then you're going to hear it and be like, yep, it got included.
Welcome to...
For sure. It's a whole thing.
Sure. Look, welcome to trying to do a podcast and being a mom at the same time.
Absolutely. All right. So that's actually not our because you have to jump right back in and say, well, actually, I didn't watch True Crime TV going in and finish your answer.
We're going to put 6 seconds.
All right. Cool.